Why is it so terrifying to talk about our desires in our relationship? We're afraid of getting rejected. We're afraid of hurting our partner's feelings. There's so much wrapped up in talking about what we want and what we need. We don't want to lose our person. In our culture, we believe that our desires are wrapped up in sinfulness, and there's something that we should just repress and not talk about. And for the partner who's on the receiving end of hearing their other partner's desire, there's this huge myth that you have to do everything your partner desires in order for it to be a healthy relationship, in order for the relationship to succeed. But I am here to tell you that it is normal to not be able to meet all of your partner's desires. And in fact, we don't have to. Instead, we have to look at what is the underlying need behind a desire in a relationship. So for instance, if your partner would really like to be having more sex and you just feel like kind of shut down because it's quarantine or for whatever reason, your libido is not very high these days, it's really important to identify what is the underlying need for your partner that sex represents. Is it feeling seen? Is it feeling desired? And are there ways you can meet that with your partner instead of just having more sex? So for instance, maybe your partner would absolutely love it if you came up to them in the kitchen and grabbed their ass and told them that you thought they were sexy. Or maybe having intentional scheduled time together where you cuddle and look into each other's eyes, maybe that would help them with their need for feeling seen and connected, right? So there's so many compromises that you and your partner can make. It's not all about fulfilling a desire exactly as it plays out in their mind, but it's about getting to the underlying need together. A really wonderful exercise that you and your partner can do for sharing and celebrating a desire without actually feeling like you have to do it or that you're actually asking for it is to set a timer and each of you take turns sharing a desire with the other person, just for the sake of celebrating it. And after that 2 minutes is up, the partner who's listening says, "Thank you for sharing that. I can see how that would be really hot." That's it. You don't have to talk about that desire again until the next day. In fact, take the evening off to just spend time together, hanging out. This exercise is simply about sharing a desire for the sake of sharing it and hearing each other and celebrating the other person, knowing you don't have to do it. You don't have to feel afraid and scared and have a reaction of like, "Oh, how could you want that?" Like, I can't do that, right? Like that fearful reaction comes from you thinking, I have to do this. But what if you don't? What if you don't have to do it? What if you can celebrate your partner's desire and say, "That's wonderful, honey." That is such a relief, and it lets go of so much pressure from that desire, because desires are actually like a gaseous substance. If we try to control them and hold them in without just letting them be present, they might explode out of you, just like if you try to capture gas, right? And so just providing an opportunity to talk about desire with each other without actually having to do it or without figuring out ways immediately to implement it into your sex life can be such a relief, and it can dissipate some of the pressure of that desire. If you want to get more comfortable with expressing a desire with a partner, here is a simple communication framework for communicating a need with your loved one. This is based on the principles of Nonviolent Communication by Marshall Rosenberg. First, express the feeling that you are feeling right now upon talking to your partner. So maybe you're feeling vulnerable. Maybe you're feeling nervous or anxious. So like, "Hey, I want to talk to you about something that I feel nervous about." So you immediately disarm them by being vulnerable and sharing that, "Hey, this is kind of a tender subject for me." And then ask them if they have the emotional availability to have an intimate or serious conversation. And that really sets the tone, giving them permission to say, "I actually am really exhausted. Can we talk about this tomorrow?" That's okay, but make sure you schedule a time to have the conversation so that this doesn't fall to the wayside. Next, you're going to state your intention. Like, "I'm telling you this because I want to feel more deeply connected to you," right? You make it very clear that your intention is not to criticize them or shame them or blame them, but you miss them and you want to feel more connected to them, and that's why you're sharing your desire. Next, you're going to own your desire, and you're going to say, "I've been feeling some curiosity about trying, let's say, kink. I've been really feeling curious about trying kink, and I'm wondering if it's something you're willing to explore with me." And you frame it like a question. Something I see a lot of is that people will think about a desire for months or even years before talking to their partner about it. And they create this big map in their head of like all the things we should try together and here's how we should do it. It's better to talk about it as soon as the desire comes up so it can be an exploration and a conversation with your partner, as opposed to something you've thought through in your head and you're now kind of imposing it upon them, right? So own your desire and make it a conversation. Be curious about whether or not they're willing to explore that with you. If you're the partner who's listening to your partner share a desire and it's not a hell yes for you, you're not really sure, you need more conversation about it to figure out a win-win compromise, that's totally okay. You have the right to say, thank you so much for telling me that. I get how that would be hot. I'm just not really sure if I want to do that or I'd need to learn more about that. So let's keep talking about this, right? Everything can be a conversation. So once we have all of that foundation in place, it makes sharing and hearing desires so much easier. If you and your partner would like to try this, stick around to the end of this video. We have an exercise we've put together for you. And I am also taking a few more couples on a private coaching journey. So I would love to help you and your partner get clear on what your desires are and how to have better communication around them to create win-win agreements for your intimate life. So go to the link below to check that out and like and subscribe.